You're listening to Emerson Whitner's NXT Report on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Emerson Whitner, and this is your NXT audio update for Wednesday, October 14th, 2015, right here on AngryMarks.com and the Angry Marks Podcasting Network. Tonight I'm here once again to discuss NXT. It'd be weird if I was here on the NXT review to recap SmackDown, for instance, or Impact. I'd have to be paid a lot more than I am to review Impact. Stevie J, I think, would offer me twice what he's currently paying me to do Impact, but even that's not enough. But NXT, on the other hand, also taped in front of 300 people in Orlando, but is a much livelier 300 people. It opened up with the champ. Well, no, not Finn Balor, a different champ. We start the show with the winner of the first women's Iron Man match in WWE history, the winner of the first time a women's match main evented a WWE special. Bayley is here, much to the delight of the entire Full Sail audience, who gave her a big standing ovation, chanted both her name and match of the year, all before she even had the chance to say two words. She thanked Dusty Rhodes for being a big part in her career, also stating that being in the main event is something she dreamed about since she was a little girl. She did say one forced line, saying that we have started a whole new level in the Divas Revolution, which was the only thing she said that sounded horribly forced. The fans began chanting women's wrestling, which she encouraged, so that brought out her next challenger, drumroll please, Alexa Bliss. There were a lot worse options, folks. Anywho, Alexa Bliss, Blake, and Murphy all came out. Alexa said what happened last week was incredible and that she was in awe while watching that match, stating that no one deserved to be champion right now more than Bayley. Alexa said that Bayley was a truly incredible champion and that the future for the women NXT has no limit. She almost broke down into what turned out to be fake tears as she raised Bayley's hand before stealing her championship and hiding behind her men. Blake and Murphy stood in Bayley's way as Alexa cut a promo saying that she's going to take her championship from her. And then Alexa did throw the belt back at Bayley before leaving. Last week, after the Dusty Rhodes Classic, the cameraman caught up with Finn Balor and Samoa Joe, but before they could say anything, Mr. Regal ran up to congratulate them. Joe then took that as a chance to challenge Finn Balor to a championship match, saying that it's been a pleasure and an honor to be Finn's partner. Joe stated several times he's undefeated and thus deserves a shot at the title. Finn agreed to the match, but Mr. Regal, being Mr. Regal, said no. Instead, last week he announced that next week, which is tonight, there would be a battle royal for the number one contender status. Joe was mad but respectful, saying that he should just get a title shot because he's undefeated, but William Regal cut him off again and telling him that there will be a battle royal. Tension is in the air, folks. Throughout the show, we had several quick 15 to 20 second promos by a couple people in the battle royal, including Ty Dillinger saying he's the perfect 10, Apollo Crews, and Rhino mentioned that he was the last ECW champion. Then finally, 17 minutes and 5 promos into the show, we finally got our first match. The NXT Tag Team Champions of the World of Orlando, the Vaudevillains, defeated Sawyer Fulton and Angelo Dawkins in about 3 minutes. Sawyer, I don't know why I didn't notice this before. Maybe, actually I think he used to wear a singlet, but Sawyer Fulton has that Irish cross that Sheamus has as a necklace, but Sawyer has it tattooed onto his chest. It's the first time I really noticed it. And Angelo Dawkins is dressed in similar gear to Jordan and Gable. Fulton and Dawkins got more offense than they ever have on TV, but that really isn't saying much. They got the heat in English, but Gotch got the hot tag. He knocked one of Dawkins' headbands off with a side suplex, and the champs won in 3 minutes with the Whirling Dervish. Dash and Dawson cut a promo backstage about how they defeated the Vaudevillains in a Dusty Rhodes Classic, so that should make them the number one contenders. I shouted hooray for logic, But it turns out that instead they're going to have to wrestle Enzo and Cass for that top contender status. So boo illogic, or the lack of logic. Devin Taylor, by the way, was the backstage interviewer, and I hear this was her last NXT taping. I'll miss her, and it's too bad we never got the battle between her and Dana Brooke. Speaking of Dana, she was being worked over last week by the trainer when Asuka walked up and patted her on the head mockingly. After Asuka left, Dana was completely batty, thinking that she had won the match and was bragging about winning to Emma while Emma just patted her arm. Nia Jax, after 8 weeks of vignettes, finally debuted, defeating Evie. Evie is a girl from New Zealand who looks a lot like Sarah Lee, the girl who won Tough Enough. It was not Sarah Lee, I could tell, because Evie at one point stopped smiling. I did actually do a smidge of research to find out that Evie does wrestle as Evie in New Zealand and recently got a WWE tryout. So, here you go. The fans actually began counting like they used to do for Baron Corbin because they were figuring this would be a 30-second squash match. Shockingly, it wasn't 30 seconds, so they quit counting quickly. Nia's first offensive move was this awesome-looking bear hug where she grabbed Evie and squeezed her while jumping up and down. That should have been her finish. It was not. I'm afraid of this woman, so somebody please alert Nia Jax that should be her finish. She's a very large, very thick, very talented woman, and in my mind could be WWE's Awesome Kong if she stays healthy. Evie actually got quite a bit of offense here, but that was mostly so Nia could no-sell it, and Nia won with a spinebuster slam. One guy in the crowd and a few people on Twitter shouted rock bottom upon seeing this. However, it really wasn't the same as a rock bottom. It was more of kind of like Batista's spinebuster, only Nia was standing tall while throwing him down. They showed a video package from the Sasha Bayley match from last week, including comments by Becky, Charlotte, Stephanie, and Hunter, who all put the match over big. Tyler Breeze and Baron Corbin both said they would win the Battle Royal. Eva Marie is in Paris. Thankfully, she's not in Orlando. She's taking a personal vacation after all of her matches that were so grueling. She forgot to mention that they're grueling to watch. They obviously know nobody likes her because that's her character. She's bragging about how everybody loves her, blah, 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 blah. If she didn't have the personality of a wet paper bag, she could be a really good heel manager. But the problem is she talks very dully, very woodenly. And I just wanted to see her shut up. Not as much as I want to see Corey Graves shut up, but that's because I got to listen to him for 15 minutes a week. Actually, that'd be a horrible announce team. Imagine Eva Marie and Corey Graves. I would quit. I'd quit. But that brings us to the main event, the Battle Royal, the 21-man Battle Royal. It was actually the third Battle Royal in NXT history. For you trivia buffs out there, Bo Dallas won the first one back in May 2013. And then a year later, they did this ridiculous finish where Tyler Breeze, Sami Zayn, and Tyson Kidd all went over the top at the same time, but it was horribly mistimed, and Breeze legit won, but it was called a draw. Rhino, Baron Corbin, and Samoa Joe were the only ones to get a televised entrance. The order of elimination I'll run through quickly here before we get to the last couple. The first 17 in order gone were Steve Cutler, Danny Burch, Elias Sampson, Johnny Gargano. I think they said this man's name was Riddick Moss. That's what it sounded like. I listened to it 3 times. I heard Riddick Moss. Colin Cassidy, Dash Wilder, Scott Dawson, Enzo Amore, Ty Dillinger, Bull Dempsey, Mojo Rawley, Zack Ryder, Rhino, Tommaso Ciampa, Blake, and Murphy. So that brought us down to the final 4 of Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews, Tyler Breeze, and Samoa Joe. I'm so used to WWE Battle Royals where everyone unimportant is eliminated in about 3 minutes. So it's weird to see all of them fight and go at it for a while before anyone ever got eliminated. Apollo Crews eliminated the first 4 men, including Heaving Gargano, over the top rope onto Cutler, Birch, and Samson. For what it's worth, I should note that the last time they did an NXT Battle Royal, the first 5 guys eliminated were all cut from their developmental deals. So I feel bad for Cutler, Birch, Samson, Gargano, and Moss. The fans popped when Enzo tossed Dash and Dawson by himself, and then quickly died when Dillinger immediately threw Enzo out. Baron and Rhino continued their partnership for about 10 minutes until Baron just randomly tossed Rhino while there were still 9 people left in the match. What a dummy. Why didn't he just wait until it came down to 2 people? Maybe he realized that almost never works, except that time at WrestleMania 4 with Bad News Brown and Bret Hart. Poor Bret. But I think things turned around for that guy. Ever notice, like in almost every Royal Rumble, there's that one guy in the Final 4 that appears to be horribly out of place, like Billy Gunn in 2001 or Mr. Perfect in 2002. But in this case, got to give Tyler Breeze the Billy Gunn Award, as I used to call it, for this Battle Royal for being the least likely person in the Final 4. The fans really loved Breeze, and Joe got booed when he eliminated Tyler, and then Baron Corbin and Joe were fighting. Corbin threw Joe onto the apron. Joe kicked Corbin's head out of his head, and then Tyler tripped Joe up, yanked him off the apron, much to the delight of the Full Sail crowd. So shockingly, Samoa Joe did not win the Battle Royal. It came down to Corbin and Cruz, who actually had a really good couple minutes together, and I can't wait to see them actually have a match together. Corbin kept throwing Cruz over the top rope, but Apollo would land on the apron. The fans chanted, "Corbin sucks. Corbin sucks," which actually gave Cruz his second wind. He made his comeback, but Baron got the knees up on the standing moonsault, but Cruz came back with several kicks to the head, and shockingly won by clotheslining Corbin out. So yes, Finn Balor's future is named Apollo Crews, and that does it for this week. Check out NXT this week. It was a decent enough show. I enjoyed it. You should enjoy it. Everyone should enjoy it. Go watch it. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you again in 7 days.
You're listening to Emerson Whitner's NXT Report on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.